Now, for a long time, people thought that dashing was the fastest way to move, but on many characters, you can actually sprint and repeatedly jump, and it will actually propel you forward faster. Now, not every character can do this depending on their animation, but many characters can move much faster when you have stamina than dashing or sprinting combined. So, start sprinting around and make sure you alternate your jumps with a little bit of timing. You'll get the hang of it really quickly, but you're going to be boosting around the map faster than you ever thought possible. Just remember that some characters can't do it and it will actually slow you down if you try to do this. Did you know that dashing off a ledge can give you some insane momentum and actually help you skip some puzzles in the game? On some smaller gaps, you can typically launch across them, but if the hill or object is too rounded, it sometimes boosts you down or forces you to run off the ledge. You can jump off a mountainside, pull out your glider, and that little bit of momentum can usually be enough to get you to the other side. Did you know that height actually matters in this game? If you're using a tall character, you might be able to just walk through water, or if you're climbing up on a ledge, you can reach it much easier. If you're using a short character like Chi-Chi or Venti, they actually will have to swim and they're going to have a harder time climbing. So if you're exploring the map and you've got a tall character, you might want to give them a try to save a couple of extra stamina points here and there. It also helps if you want to get a treat off the counter. Did you know that you can sell your artifacts? If you're super short on Mora, you can consider this. Now, you do want to use the experience from these for your artifacts, but if you desperately want money to ascend a character, you can actually bin these items and you'll get some Mora in return. Now, the other thing too is if you get rid of some of your low-level artifacts and you're only using the big ones, you can actually make this an advantage. While leveling up weapons and artifacts, you can use multiple old weapons and materials to do so. Now, randomly, you can also get big multipliers, like 2, 3, and apparently even 5 times multipliers. If you're using the higher level 3-star materials instead of 1s and 2s, hopefully you hit that multiplier and you're going to get even more experience. As for me, I personally use my artifacts to get the experience because leveling up your artifacts is very important if you want damage. So I don't want to be wasting that for an extra bit of Mora. But if you're upgrading a weapon, I've got something you might want to consider. Instead of using all of the resources every single time and just maxing it out in one go, you could use just half of them. What I mean by this is if it takes 10 crystals to get to the max level, only use 5 or 6. That way, you're rolling the dice again in case you get that multiplier and you're going to come out ahead. Now, this is a little bit more time consuming, but theoretically, if you were to do this and to only use half each time, eventually you're going to save a resource here, a resource there, and you're going to be rich. As you get repeat characters and you get constellations, this gives them passives that are obviously really strong, but in some cases, it can make them twice as strong. In the case of Sucrose, she actually gets another cast of her main elemental ability. In the case of Kaya, he gets a huge 15% crit rate against cryo enemies. Now, not every constellation is going to be a banger, but in some characters' cases, even one constellation point could take them from the B tier to the A or even S tier. So if you do get these constellations, make sure you're actually equipping them. On top of this, at level 70, every character in the game gets their final passive, and typically, these are very strong, taking Chi-Chi from a good healer to an S-tier great healer, taking Venti from an ability spammer to the king of the ability spam. Most characters in the game are awesome at base level, but at level 70, they really start to shine, with these passives, in some cases, making or breaking the character and how powerful they are. Another thing making or breaking a character is leveling up abilities, and people still comment on my videos not realizing you can do this. You can level up your basic attacks and your abilities in the game, but I have a recommendation for you. If you're using someone who typically is just using their abilities and you swap to another character, focus on leveling up their main abilities first because they get extremely expensive. There's no reason to be leveling up Venti's auto attacks if you're not auto attacking with them. If you have a main DPS like Kaching, I level up her auto attacks, her basic attacks, and I level up everything as fast as I can, but make sure you're not blowing resources on attacks that nobody is using. If all you do is pull out Shangling and put down her Fire Bear, then only level that. Did you know that there are multiple abilities with iframes in the game, or immunity frames? Many of the ultimate abilities, especially on the 5-star characters because they've got extra fancy abilities, they have immunity frames and you can dodge any attack in the game. You've got a Rune Guard that has missiles locked on you, well, you can pop the ability and you'll actually dodge it, which I'm going to show with a couple of characters right here. Before being attacked, I pop my Kaching ult and dodge all the incoming damage. On Chi-Chi, before the plant spins and headbutts me, I do the exact same thing, dodging all of the damage available. You can also do a sprint dash and dodge through any attack in the game, because it gives you immunity frames as well. Between the ability immunity frames and dodging through attacks, you can become pretty much immune, and in things like the Spiral Abyss, where things start to really hit hard, this is one of the only ways to survive, so you'd better practice this as best you can. One of my recommendations is just to go into the Spiral Abyss and fight, or just find a basic enemy, let them try to attack you, and work on dodging their attacks with your dash. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's pretty darn forgiving once you master it, and you're going to be safe from all the attacks in-game. Now, let's talk about some material farming, because this one is going to save you some major time. I need Core Lapis, but unfortunately I've farmed all of it that's available in this region. Now, my Kaching needs multiple Core Lapis to ascend, and so do some of my other characters. Now, if you play co-op, their world might have it still available, so if you join them, you could actually go and farm it in their world. Now, I don't recommend spamming people and requesting to join just so you can snatch all of their resources, but if you use something like the Genshin Impact Discord and find a friend, you can steal those resources from them, because they're letting you. Or you could use a second account. If you made a second account and you have access to a phone and computer, you could essentially log in on your phone, join that world, and farm away all the materials. This is some pretty sweaty gaming, but hey, it might be the thing you need if you want to start upgrading all these characters. Many Ascension items you're going to need hundreds of, and even the crystal ore can be used for experience. And believe me, if you're trying to level up full teams to level 70, you're going to need a lot of it. Some of the best weapons in the game are actually crafted, like the prototype Aminus. This claymore is great, and if you farm bosses and get lucky, you can actually refine this thing up to tier 5 without even spending $1 on this game. Weapons like this are going to be top tier, especially for free-to-play players, so you're going to need as many materials as you can. On top of this, if you are leveling up multiple characters and weapons, you're going to run out of experience. Whether it's for your weapons or leveling up and ascending your characters, you're going to need to use some resources in order to get enough to grind it out. One of the best ways to get experience for your weapons is through crystal ore, and it takes like 72 hours to respawn. So don't sleep on this, because if you want to actually upgrade those weapons to level 70 and 80, you better put in the time, and you better get mining. Speaking of materials, Starglitter and Stardust is something that you will amass even as a free-to-play player. Now, I have a recommendation, that would be to buy Razor straight up at the bottom. There's other materials that you can farm for, and I wouldn't spend your money on these because just playing the game will allow you to get them. But if you want to curb some of your luck, I would recommend getting Razor because he's a great DPS character. As for the Stardust, again, multiple items here are very easily farmable, but one that I would consider buying if you've got a ton is the Mora. More importantly, however, is these items down at the bottom. Now, there are Intertwined and Acquaint Fates that are on a discount that you should always be buying first, but the Mora, Adventure Experience, and the Mystic Enhancement Ore are on a discount of a limited quantity. If you have a bunch of this Stardust, I would recommend focusing on these first because that's really the only thing you can buy. Don't buy any of the other stuff, save up, and make sure that you're buying these items so that you don't get hard locked on progression because you got no stuff. Did you know that some attack animations, you're locked into the animation unless you dash? In the case of claymores, your attack is locked in once you press the button, and if you try to walk away, you won't be able to. However, you can cancel the attack early before you hit, or you can dash out of the way directly after hitting and get away a fraction of a second faster. This might not seem like a big deal, but if you're trying to survive an area of effect attack, or you're trying to get the hell out of there before some electric slimes zap your butt, well, you'd better learn how to attack cancel. It's usually only with the big weapons that this is a big deal, but it's something to think about with even your basic bows and other short swords. Now, the Spiral Abyss is an endgame activity, and it can be a little bit scary for people, but many of the early floors are super easy, and it's pretty much free Primo Gems, 300 for each floor to be exact. That is a total of 2,400 Primo Gems that you can get for completing it. On top of that, you can get a bunch of experience and resources for upgrading weapons, as well as tier 4 and 5 artifacts. This is incredible, but here's the big one. Once you do beat all 8 floors, you unlock the next part. Now, I'm not going to pretend like everyone's going to be high enough level to do this, but there are other floors that reset. Now, the initial 8 don't. But these ones do, and so this is access to more Primo Gems, more Mora, but more importantly, a bunch of tier 4 and 5 artifacts. It's going to take weeks, if not months, to be able to beat floor 12, and many of us are not even close to being there. But this is something to consider long term. You have an access to some pretty great rewards, and it does reset, so don't sleep on the Spiral Abyss. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed. We just hit 500,000 subscribers on the channel, and we have broken every record this channel has ever seen. Genshin Impact was never supposed to be my main game. I've always been a Destiny content creator, and I've played other games here and there. But Genshin Impact has been incredible, and this community has been very loving. Thank you so much for everything. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Make sure to like the video. And if you are interested in an amazing energy drink, check out MTAJ Mango Splash. Links are down below. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye.